so excited to connect with Ashala. It's been far too long, but everything has its reason and purpose and trust. And we know you've been going through a lot recently, moving. So, Ashala, we're going to let you lead with explaining what's been going on for you around the home front.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so delighted to be joining both of you again. It is long overdue. I was just lost in your beautiful intro there, like how profound, and the words you're speaking so resonate with me. I'm really honored to be collaborating in meaningful ways with both of you.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I did just recently relocate. I moved quite a bit, but this move, I feel like I'm going to be settled for at least a couple of years in one place. I have lots of work to do. And therefore I need to be grounded. So I am on the beautiful Vancouver Island, just about an hour and a half ferry ride away from these lovely Gaias, and looking forward to spending lots more time in person and collaborating in beautiful ways. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful to be settled in a beautiful place, in a beautiful home with my daughter, and looking forward to this next emerging cycle of renewal.
Absolutely. The rebirth, as we've been saying. It's feeling like a rebirth, and it's, it's letting go of more than you even thought you ever needed to let go of to move forward. Yeah, for self. It's a real inner journey at the moment, and indicative of winter. I was at a sound bath last night with the new moon, and we had 8 lovely ladies and a little cacao ceremony, and just a beautiful conversation around how much shifting has been happening for them internally, whether or not they even realized it, but once they voiced it, they could hear it differently. And so creating that community has just been so profound and beautiful. And yeah, even around the house. Hey, Nora Jean, how you doing?
I'm here, I'm present, I'm, just allowing things to flow today. And when we allow just the flow, just to not have the thought of it other than just what we need to use thought to be focused on, profound creative ideas and creative visualizations of what it is we want to experience, and what that is that takes us and puts us in that position and place to understand the clarity of that visual that's coming through. And then, over time, allowing ourselves to bring in that masculine role to guide the feminine in the, the logical and reasonable way of just how to put it together and structure it. So that way this build that you are in the process of wanting to bring forth to share with others comes to out any, hopefully not too many, but small issues that may come about. And that's what this is about, is knowing that even through the imperfections, there's perfection to be shown and to be experienced.
I think it's an inner guidance and adjustment to what you're creating versus chasing something like, I got to get this done, right? Because that is a very old model, in my opinion. Practice is chase, and then intuition and small steps forward to be guided so it flows through you, not this bumpy beating yourself up, got to get it done on a schedule. We can chuck that all in the fuck it bucket and just really is. And actually, almost most importantly, is for me especially, is taking those breaks from it, going into it, playing with it a bit, going outside, going in nature, checking in with the birds, whatever I might be called to do, and then coming back with a fresh perspective, so that I'm bringing that with me and infusing that energy into it. That's my creative process. I cannot sit down for 8 hours, and bless her heart, this one can. So we have a really good balance between us. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you.
She does a better job of reset, though, because when I get in it, sometimes it's one of those, it's hard to bring myself out. So
get
out in that note, be able to go and do that meditation or to go and just sit with self is a good point to reset, especially if you stay in it for too long and then you start getting to that level of frustration, or you start getting to that level of, am I doing what I need to be doing? And you're questioning where you're at. So it's always great. And it's always something for us to keep in mind that you got to step away. And I'm still mastering that. I got to step away from where I'm at so I can see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
By the way, we're going down to the beach later.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've taken to, there's that totem down at the West Van one with the arms up.
Yeah.
So that's my point of like throwing crystals and commands into the water from there. Yeah. So I'm apparently due for another one. Okay. I hadn't even thought about it. So there we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really feel this balancing between the masculine and feminine energies within each of us, and I've been noticing lately, of course, the work that I do and the platforms that I'm associated with, I have to stay on the pulse, or I get to stay on the pulse of world events and all the wild chaos out there. And I was just saying before we came on that I am experiencing this warriorship ferocity that's rising within myself. And it is a real path. It's a real journey of initiation to stay balanced between the masculine part of me that's just like, oh no, we're going to deal with this. Like, let's get out on the street. Let's pound the pavement. Let's scream and yell and put up our fists. And like, we're demanding change, and like like Nora was saying, like we become fixated on the path of purpose. Like, let's find a solution. Let's solve this problem and that problem and that problem. But then, of course, right now, it's so multi-complex, right? The problems are all interwoven. It's like everywhere you look, it's like economic, environmental, political, social, political, blah, 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 right? And so the masculine is just going like, holy shit, fire, 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 fire. Right? Going like,
burn it all down.
Yeah. And then, so the inner feminine is going like, whoa, slow down a little bit there, and going, I know the more you see that's chaos and extremely threatening, the more you want to like pull out the big guns and start shooting everywhere. But it's like, we got to take some real big breaths here, because we're actually birthing. And so now we turn to the feminine that knows how to give birth. And what that feels like is like, oh yeah, it's going to be intense. Whoa, here comes 100 problems from 100 angles at us. Whoa, that's like going through transition labor, right? For those of you that have given birth, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna explode. Like, remember, right? It's like, you're just like, I'm gonna explode. I can't, my body can't do this, my mind, my emotions, nothing's gonna stay together. But you breathe and you stay present, and then it eases. And then you integrate.
Yeah.
So this is where we are. We're taking those deep breaths and going, and the feminine now, I can feel it. I can feel my own warriorship, because the old version of me, the old masculine, was like fixated, like a dog with a bone, right? Like, I can't turn my attention away. I can't take we can't afford to take a second off. The world's going to blow up. Everything's going to go crazy. And it's like, well, if that's all you're doing, you're over the edge you go, right? And so the feminine is saying, yes, and this too shall pass. And we're not ignoring it, but we're not going to like overreact. We're going to hold back, breathe, and integrate. Because so much big picture stuff is emerging here. It's like this amazing matrix of the connectedness of everything. And that's good for our souls, right? Connectedness is so healing. So this is where I'm witnessing with my clients and individuals and friends, family, where despite the insanity that we're witnessing outside, we feel more connected and strong on the inside. How can that be? That defies logic, right? So I put that to you both. Tell me, in your opinion, how that is. How is it that we're feeling better as things get crazier?
To me, it was a process, right, of realizing that everything in the world is not what I thought it was. And I find you go into that, your first inclination is actually to go, well, I got to tell people what I know, but then nobody really wants to hear it. And so then you automatically get a little quieter because you're like, then you come into the conclusion, oh, not everyone sees as I do. You realize that even though you believe, we're all individual, we're also connected as well. And just allowing that to unfold. And the more you work on self and the inner work, balancing the masculine and feminine, the easier the outer world becomes, the more peace you have. So, for me especially, it's a lot less consuming other information. I'm just now, whatever I'm meant to need to know, show me, guide me, allow me to see what I need to know for me. And so I'm super grateful that we have this ability to go bigger picture into the cosmic, but still be here and still be able to hold space and still be able to just allow things to unfold, because we're so used to, I got a goal, I'm going to go get it, right? Or I know everyone needs to know this truth. Well, you can speak your truth, but only those that are meant to hear it are going to hear it. Yeah, from your frequency and vibration. So then that inner work becomes even more important. So you're not soapboxing, right? And spitting out information you think everyone needs to know. And why aren't you listening to me? There's no sense in that. The sense is in the softness.
If there's anything that I've come to understand about this journey I've had for myself, and when we talk masculine and feminine, and we understand, as above, so below, as within, so without, we're given the chance and opportunity to understand that, as we was talking before we come on here, if there was one thing that I understood about what I went through was, as time went on, I began to understand to stop being a part of the problem and step outside and be the observer and see what could be the solution.
Yeah. When you're in it to win it, you can't see it for
right.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's a process of becoming. And as we understand this, as long as I'm not a part of the problem, even if I can't come up with a solution, then I'm just the observer. So then what I'm doing is I'm learning what life is showing me in my experience. So with that tells me, okay, I may not be able to be in that position to be a solution-oriented individual just yet, but at least I'm gathering the information that's showing me the issue at hand, that in enough time, if I observe it enough, I will come up with a solution. Picture of what's taking place in my environment, or what's taking place in what it is that I am observing. So if there's anything that I learned is as long as I don't become a part of it, then I overcome it, and I'm able to bring in that perspective by, like I said, not getting so much into that solution orientation of the focus, to step back, reset myself, and approach from a different angle so that I don't make no more mistakes than I made through the process. But without mistakes, I cannot grow. So mistakes are just as profound and beautiful as the perfection of bringing forth the solution as I am creating it throughout a build that will that system of solution for the collective as a whole.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. And stepping back and asking, what else do I need to know about this? And then patiently waiting. Tell me, please guide me. It's it's way easier on the nervous system. It's a much softer, more feminine approach, but utilizing the masculine still. So I know there's something to be created around a new way of energy exchange with less of a middle person. And so show me guidance, show me how this works. Yeah, I'd love to know more.
Right. That middle person is very, very important to realize and recognize. When we get rid of that middle person, we become more clear in our ability to observe because we've got that wall out of the way, and it's not that we're seeing what it is they want us to see. About seeing.
It's like a veil coming down.
Yeah. Wow. I'm really tapping into, I know you've been doing all this astronomical work.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to hear more about that, because what I'm being shown right now through your wisdom lenses is this analogy. Of course, we think of this often, but that we are like the cells in a body.
Yep.
And that when you're talking about that, get rid of the middle person, it is almost like, in a way, the over-reliance on the central nervous system as the conductor of all information, right? So it's like, if we're all cells in a body and we actually become sovereign in our ability to receive information directly from source, and then we are not reliant on this neural system that has been tampered with. We call it now neural divergent system, right? Like it's a little bit scrambly. It's not the fault of that nervous system. It's just the result of a lot of tampering with it. And it is, it's been overused for the wrong purposes, the nervous system. So we have grown into this almost like addictive dependency on taking all our information from the nervous system, which is the central control of the brain and that process. But we actually, this is the work we do in intuition, right? The work I do in the spiritual realm, it's quantum. It's like, I don't just go, in fact, I kind of have to close down brain perception and move into what I call whole brain perception, or all body perception, which is the emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical body and their intelligence receiving insight. So what you're saying reminds me of how we are, like, if all the cells in the body became sovereignly able to quantumly connect with source for their own healing, for their own guidance to do the best work they can on behalf of the body, well, we're going to have a healthy, restored body.
Yes.
So take it away from there.
Absolutely. Well, and I that's really profound and beautiful, and I love it. Thank you. Yeah. What do the cards have to say about that?
Okay. Well, I get that from being around, like, every channeled piece of insight is often really related less to me and more to the people that I am channeling on behalf of. So I feel like that is somehow what I just said is connected to the work that you've been doing.
Yes.
The astronomical work you've been doing. And yeah, that's very exciting. I feel like we're going to learn very much from looking at that relationship between the physical body and the universe, and looking at the role of the central nervous system and how it's the thing that has been, like, distorted.
And it's beautiful you just said that, because as we're having this conversation, when we look at the vagus nervous system, there's a sympathetic and there's a parasympathetic.
Yeah.
And when we look at diagrams of this, what they do is they color code it. And here's where we begin to understand that what just came through for me was that they're not different in color. They're the exact same system, just the only thing that's different is the function and what it does for the vessel. So when we begin to understand, to stop seeing things in those colors, because if we look at this and we understand how much of the, conditioning and the misinterpretations, or the them giving us information to go with, that can we really ultimately say that what they put in front of us is truth?
Mm-hmm.
That might not be. That may be one of the situations where, as we're talking about seeing that bigger picture, and this is what I'm doing, is that not where, to a certain level of degree, they create a divide?
It's where the red and the blue is. Yeah, now we're chopping in, right? It's like, oh, that's so
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I pulled 3 cards here. I pulled 6 of Pentacles in the past. Now,
Mhm.
6 of Pentacles is reciprocity. It's the number 6 is harmony and service. You think of the hexagonal like shape of a beehive, the bee cellulose, and how the bees work in cooperation with kind of hive mind and that consciousness. Then we're in the 9, which is the Hermit. So it's like we've gone from hive mind to the individual consciousness. Now, interesting, the next thing that shows up is the moon. So in a way, it's almost what you're referring to, Norma, with the 2 colors. We could almost call it our wild and our domestic, because you see here the dog and the wolf. It's
Yes.
like the wild, natural, instinctual nervous system and the domesticated, conditioned, programmed nervous system.
beautiful. Yep.
So
Sense.
this is, we're somehow we've ended up in the realm of the nervous system, and I think this is very profound. I really feel like it's very much connected to, you were sharing with me who you've been working with and what you've been working with. Yeah, so I pulled two more cards. The shocking revelation that we've been tricked into abandoning our wild nervous system.
Yeah.
And that in a way, it's almost like, again, it isn't about, with masculine and feminine, it isn't about, one is better than the other. It's that if they are isolated and pulled apart, they're not going to, either of them, function very well, because they actually need that integration. And I always tell this funny little story. I might have told it to you both before, but it's worth retelling because it's quite comical. And it's the story of when I was going on a trip years ago with my family. I had my elderly mom and my younger daughter, who was still, I think, 9 or 10 or something. And we were going on a 2-week vacation. And so I was packing. It was like 3 women, right? I'm packing for everybody, and I'm making food, and everybody's clothes getting packed, and la, 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 right? And then we're going in this trailer. And I had figured out, got the trailer hitch, got the trailer on the everything and that. And I was getting ready to kind of start packing it, and realized that the brakes weren't working on the trailer. And I literally, I had organized so many things, food and clothing and itinerary and like a woman, right? Like I had all these things going and everything was sorted, like the bags by the door and all that. That brake light, I was undone. I was like, oh no, I can't do this, because that was going to take a part of my brain, the masculine part, that is like, okay, troubleshoot. First you test this wire, then you go, oh no, okay, that, no, okay, gotta call somebody. What do I do with this? Oh, gotta go pick up that part. Oh, it's all this linear, like you might have to go through a dozen steps to get the solution. I lost it. I completely lost it. And I turned to a man for help, because I was like, I can't do this in this part of myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting here with where we're at, is this, if we've abandoned the 2 sides to their worst nightmare, which is being pushed out. Like the masculine without that feminine balance is dangerous. Look at what we see on the planet right now. It is dangerous. And the feminine without that masculine ability to linear problem solve is ineffectual. So we can't evolve without going in a pragmatic, conscious way. So we've got it. It just implores us to bring that back into balance, the wild and the domestic part of ourselves. And we have been abandoned. We've been tricked into separating those parts, and that has led to abandonment. So look at this. The next step is the third. So we go from polarized duality into the Trinity again, and we say this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And that is where the place that we meet in the middle, and that has its own energy. And I don't know where to go with that. So take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, because just even the sequence that you're putting down is something that's been spoken to about, the 369, and you're actually understanding what the 369 signifies, by understanding how it was manipulated here in the matrix. That when we understand that, we can't get the 3 without doing 1 and 2, because the third is what brings us all together.
Mm-hmm.
Masculine and feminine in this one form, because we all hold that balance within ourselves to work with one another, because that balance is what creates harmony amongst us as a collective.
Mm-hmm.
So when that separation took place, like you said, that abandonment of understanding that we have the capability of doing anything we set our mind to, whether it be the masculine or feminine of the understanding within us, no matter what the issue is or what it presents itself to be, we can find that harmony within ourselves to come up with a solution every time, because we hold that within us, ultimately and frequently, due to staying present in our awareness that we can do anything we set our minds to. We're that powerful. We have that capability. So when we understand the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and stop seeing them as the blue and the red, because I understand veins, and I understand, oxygenated blood looks blue, the ones that's not oxygenated is being carried back so it can be Look, it's a system of a whole within the body.
Yeah.
One can't operate without the other.
No.
So
It's just its function is the only thing that's different. And it's a beautiful and profound, intricate function when you do away with the separation.
Mm-hmm.
Flow is a harmony that takes place within us.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go through this process of dropping beliefs, right? And realizing it's not what we thought. And many of us just kept going because we went past even the matrix part, and we've gone up, and we're like, okay, we're in the cosmos now. What's going on up here, so that can help us down here? And just to keep questioning and keep asking and letting go of those beliefs, because the astrology one was a good one for me, because I was like, well, tropical or sidereal, which one? Well, what if we just look at both and realize that the tropical is actually more of the matrix created, that we pay our rent in, that we get our food, that we drive our car. So it's our present location. So we can be in it, but not of it. And then we step up, right? And keep your mind expanded.
I love that. Yeah. You're speaking my language, Tanya. You're speaking my language, because being a Gemini, I often find it a little bit confusing that so many people are really triggered by having more than one philosophy operating simultaneously. Healthy Geminis, we have it all running at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, you can have 10 different astrologies running. Why not? The more
right.
Like, and I
resonates for you.
Well, and you can draw on, like, I use my Mayan astrology, I use my Chinese astrology, I use my 9-star key, I use my sidereal, I use all of them, right? I consider, my gene keys,
and you
my
take
human design. It's like,
wait to see which one comes close through. You wait to see which one is telling you what's going on in your environment, because it's all coming from different places and in different angles. One is crossing over the other because so much has taken place down here. It's all the same story, but what magic is being used in your environment that you're paying attention to, and is showing so that you know what is taking place in where you're at. That's what this is for. Do you know where you are? Do you know the energy is taking place in your here, now, time, space of this new day? Where are you in this time?
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge. And people are like, oh, but that's too much information. How am I going to keep track of all that? We don't have to keep track of all of it at the same time. You literally just say, oh, for some reason, I feel like I should look at this astrology today.
Follow your intuition.
You follow your intuition, you look and you're like, wow, what a great piece of insight. That gives me exactly the perspective I need right now. Just like who we choose to watch, our information, where we're getting our information on, the internet or whatever. It's like, we don't have to watch everybody every moment. You can literally be like, okay, right now I'm feeling like I should look at this. This is drawing me for some reason. And that we turn it less into like this rigid, dogmatic, systemic thing. And we become more sort of expansive and curious and playful in how we work with these different tools and these different modalities. And that's when you watch a healthy Gemini in action, that's one of the things that we do really well is we feel very relaxed in all of that. It's like that too much information, too many sources and resources does not perplex us. We're like, you just have to open the file folder bigger.
Just open the book to the page you need, right? Everything has meaning. Oh,
what a great perspective too. A book. It's sort of like you could say, oh, well, I'm only comfortable with a 25-page book. I don't want a 350-page book. And then, but if you read a couple of really good 350-page books, you're like, actually, I think I might be able to try a 500-page book, So it's like, you don't have to do anything, but it isn't a bad idea to like just gather a bit more and have a bit more perception. And this is where people have a hard time because they can't let two things that contradict each other live in the same book. And it's all a matter of time. It's all a matter of right now they contradict, but guess what? It's just like when you're reading a really good novel with a great plot twists and stuff, they contradict here, but 3 chapters from now, there's going to be a resolution to that contradiction.
100%.
So if you're just afraid I must be wrong because I got 2 contradicting things back to back here and I can't let them coexist. It's like, again, take a big breath. Let's go see where this goes.
That observing and don't do anything about it. Don't try and fix it. Just observe it. Oh, interesting that's happening. Well, let's see what unfolds next. So that any challenge you do that with, half the time it's no longer a challenge within a 24 hours or a week. And it's like, oh, that itself, and I didn't have to expend myself to support it. Go ahead. She's over here.
I can see her.
It's just so beautiful and profound when we come together. I love this. That when we come to understand that, okay, first off, as we're sitting here and we're having this wonderful and beautiful expressive just dialogue with one another, I'm not here entertaining anyone. I'm here to fulfill the ones that are watching, to understand how to have the enjoyment of their experience instead of being entertained by a experience. What are you creating in order to know the experience of self? That's what you're here for.
Yes.
Get out of the entertainment. Get out of that little entertainment jail and step back. And when you read a book, whether it's a 25-pager or a 250-pager, this is where you begin to understand how the two work in unison. Because as your mind, as your masculine is reading the pages, the feminine is following along and giving the masculine the images. And it's profound beyond the wildest imagination, if depending on how you utilize that imagination, how the feminine is really coming through to help you to understand that she's right there with the masculine and giving the masculine the ability to see something so beautiful, so intricate. Because there's not many times that whenever you're utilizing the feminine in its form, because the masculine is seeing the angles of the letters that are being used to form the words for the story, but the female is putting the curves and the beautiful way of how it comes out, just like what's behind you, Ashala.
Yeah.
Your mandala Ashala.
Mandala Ashala. It's a wooden creation, a wooden carving from Bali, Indonesia. Yeah, it's really, really.
So when we understand that's how we begin to bring the two together. What is it we're doing in our enjoyment to bring the two together, to work together again? Because then we do away with that abandonment and we bring them back together.
It's so beautiful you're saying this, Norma, because I feel like this is another thing that people get anxious about. How do I know what to turn to, what to look at? How do I know what to care about and what to, and I often will say, if what you're exposing yourself to or taking in as information, whether it be, fictional, non-fictional, whatever that is, if it really is landing in a way that you're like, it's either thought-provoking or it inspires you to be more creative in your vision, in your perspective, and it leaves you wanting more, then you're on the right path. If you are starting to like tune into something, whether it be a podcast, looking at an article, listening to, following along a workshop or something, and it's making you anxious, just walk away. It's like, we're at a time now where we have so much available to us, and we don't need to suffer through, like, maybe that information is really jazzing some people because it's going to be a really necessary piece of their puzzle for them to form their holistic version of reality. And it might not be necessary for you, and that's fine. Like, go with where you truly are, like, captivated.
Yes. Where it doesn't feel like you're having to force yourself through anything.
Yes.
You lose track of time as we know it, right? This is her. She gets in that flow state, and it's like, Norma Jean, have you had any water yet today? I'd be mumming you.
My moments, but I'm still learning, because it's been so long that feminine side of me has been able to express. So a lot of what I get lost in is more that creative process now. Not as much of the masculine to bring it together to correspond with the images. So yeah, it's beautiful that both of you speak to a profoundness that when we come to the realization and recognition that if it's something that brings us joy, do it. There's something to it. You may not understand it, but if it's something that you're excited, if it's page turner, fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't matter. There's something that's activating within you that's showing you something about yourself and what you're capable of doing, given what you're experiencing in your joy of your creative process.
Yeah, and we just don't know where this will lead us, right? Like you were speaking earlier, Norma, about your path. You called it your path through Hades. And that there's no one size fits all journey to. I had a client actually, in the last couple of weeks, and his story of his journey towards faith and spirituality was quite interesting and unusual. And he actually started off in satanic kind of literature because he was so kind of disgusted with how superficial and sort of like not multidimensional a lot of the organized religion was. And so he ended up down that path, and then like deep paganism type of stuff. But then somehow that led him to like Buddhism and Taoism, and then somehow that led him back to esoteric Christianity. So now he's in esoteric Christianity. It's like, and it's like, okay, you could just judge and say, oh my gosh,
what a beautiful path.
like, bad you for going that way, and like how dangerous, and you shouldn't have, you know, stepped off on your path going into the lair of the beast or whatever. But it's like, you know, to each their own, right? Like, I mean, that was his journey, and I was just reflecting to him what a phenomenal full you know, understanding of the
Right?
complexity of reality, that he's chosen, his soul has chosen to go on this very diverse, meandering path. And we might not all need to do that this lifetime, but there isn't a right or wrong way to find your way to your own sort of cosmology of what truth and spirituality is for you.
Yes.
And yeah, this is big news, I think, on planet Earth. This is
Absolutely.
probably one of the greatest things that we can now claim as our sovereign right, is we create our cosmology, and our path to get there is ours individually.
Yes. Can you pull cards on that, please?
I will. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
More tarot around that one.
Well, and to me, this is one of the, you know, this is how the tarot, if anything, and divination tools that I've used over the years, they haven't shown me the way. They haven't like taught me the way in terms of giving me specific information. What they've shown is they've allowed me to acknowledge my own instincts. Like, they've reflected back to me my own instincts. So like, if I'm going, you know, like for example, when this person, hi Crystal, when this person was telling me their journey, you know, I automatically, before I pulled cards on it, I just went into my being and centered in and felt my feelings. And I didn't feel triggered. I mean, if I had felt like, oh, this person, yeah, maybe they're on some kind of distorted, you know, power dominant, manipulative journey, and I might want to like kind of create some boundaries with that, like, which, you know, making those declarations of what his path had been, that for a lot of people, that would have been enough to just be like, whoa,
Yeah.
back off, buddy. Like, yeah, you know, do a 180, I'm out of here. Right. It's like, and I tuned in and I didn't feel triggered.
Yep.
And then I let the cards show me the validating what the wisdom was, that I don't feel triggered, and that he's telling me this has been his journey, and what's the wisdom in that. And the cards were really graciously gave me the clear perspective that this was a very valuable way for him to explore spirituality. And so I'm just pulling 3 cards on this. Yeah. First card, 7 of Swords. So 7 of Swords is, you know, 7s are the spiritual number. They have to do with our spiritual journey, our inward journey, and the swords are thoughts and ideas. So in this case, it feels like this person would have acted out unconsciously some of those darker things if they hadn't actually consciously chosen to understand them better. So they came in with the predisposition to maybe get pulled into that unconsciously. And their soul said, no, let's go consciously into exploring that. So, and by doing that, they drew some conclusions that led them to the next step and the next step. So it is, we're back with that feminine masculine. It's about like, the masculine needs to go and explore and learn in order to verify the feminine's hunches.
Beautiful. Right? Yes. Yeah.
So, and now we have the opportunity to really create spiritual systems. This is a systems card. 3 of Pentacles is like a collaborative system of creating structure. It's pentacles, so material structure that is flexible. It's not the 4, which is kind of like closed, a closed system. The 3 is an open system. So we're back to talking about the 3, Norma. And it's that working to create systems that are open.
Yes.
And one of the things that's really good about the 3 of Pentacles is the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in what you do, how you physically manifest. And look at the next card, the physical manifesting, the kingship, the mastery in the physical realm,
The completion.
Allowing
what we put in there and what we're doing through the system that we're creating is knowing that in order to know if something works, we must allow it to complete and see what comes of that. What is the fruition of, okay, we're going to utilize this system to see what comes through. Let's see what that brings about for the collective and see if this is something that can be expounded upon or if it's something to set to the side and start all over again. See, that's the beauty about this. It's understanding that now we're in that cycle where now, because we're coming and being more consciously aware of who we are, we're beginning to get to that place where we can finally finish a cycle.
Look at this. As you're saying this, I pulled 2 more cards. I just grabbed the top and bottom card. And this, what I was just about to say, was exactly what you just said, which is we've been disrupted before completion.
Yes.
So that's been, the jig is up, right? That's been
right.
That's been the major the controllers. If you think about slavery systems, the cabal, all of it, power dominant, central power dominant authority models, it's a disruption system.
Yes.
Yeah. They're all about, you can't even take a breath to integrate anything. We're going to have you on the run, scared about today, scared about tomorrow, scared about yesterday, scared. We're just as you start to get stabilizing in a healthy way, we're going to come in and disrupt. And so things have not been able to be completed because, like the hanging man, right? Like you were saying, Tanya, we've got to wait for the result. But that disruption is a lot about, this takes me to another philosophy. I don't remember what it's called, but it's perceived past and predictable future. So it is a lot about controlling the narrative of what our history is and making us believe it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So that the jig is really up on that. And that feels like major work for us to do. It's interesting. We were here about the new moon in Sag, and new moon in Sag to me is warriorship, recommitting to your warriorship. To me, this is the major piece that is up for us all to examine. I'm getting, in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, and even 3 years, a lot about how have we been tricked by a narrative of our history. I actually had this thought this morning. I mean, I've had this thought randomly over the last several years, come and go, but it kind of landed a little deeper this morning. And I was like, I mean, it goes in with the whole Tatarian reality and everything, but like all these things that we're so terrified about our history in the Middle Ages and all this stuff, I'm not saying that those kinds of things could not have happened on this planet, but I'm like, wow, it's sort of like ghost stories. And like, if you want to create stories that scare children into like not going outside at night, create a bunch of scary stories and then tell them that's going to happen again if they don't do this, that, or the other. So history is written by the victors, and I just feel like we're in a bit of a catch-22 here, because we can't say for sure it didn't happen, but who is telling us it did?
Right.
How much how much of it is a narrative and propagandic in what's being placed before you, given who it's coming from? This is where we begin to use our intuition.
I mean, that's one of the things that I've always really disliked. I'm so much of a historical revisionist, and I am really interested in, you know, ancient history, the complexity of all the histories that have been kept from us.
Yes.
And one of the things I find really the most challenging is even amongst the, sort of awakened, whatever, that the people that are looking at history from these different perspectives, there's still so much of that narrative about just like death and destruction and war and evil and carnage and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, when I look around at the humans that I've met in my life, and I don't think it's just some privileged white elitism, like I've met beautiful, spiritual, indigenous people from different cultures. And that's one of the things that I love the most. It's like you can meet someone, from the height of a war-torn area, and their hearts are so beautiful. Like, not all of them, but a huge percentage of them are people just like you and I. And
Yes.
it's like, I don't buy this narrative of that we've been these horribly aggressive, evil, cruel beings. And when you watch a lot of the, the movies, like these series, like Game of Thrones and Vikings and stuff like that, it's like, okay, yeah, you may have had the occasional really extreme battle happened, or some kind of horrible torture happened, but they make it sound like it was just day and night. And it doesn't take into account the whole historical complexity of what were the women and children doing? What were there's no regard given to 99.9% of human experience is this other.
It's just the one they want you to.
And we get told this 1% of the worst things.
Yep.
And so I feel like we're breaking that cycle in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, by saying, you can't keep telling us this is the perceived past and that's your predictable future. We're not going to buy that anymore.
No. And it's funny that you say that. It reminds me of the weather, the new atmospheric river and marine bomb. These new scary weather terminologies.
Oh, I talked about that on my channel. I was like, okay, if that isn't just a clear propaganda, I don't know what is. We got all this threat of nuclear war in the Middle East and stuff, and Russia and everything, and we're gonna call it a winter storm, a cyclone bomb, like a bomb cyclone. I was like, I just about killed over laughing. I almost died of laughter, actually.
And I think that's what actually helped us, is there's enough of us going, that's really funny. Nice name. We're not giving it any power. In fact, we're gonna share with those that we know and will listen. Because I kept saying to people, I have this really interesting theory, because if everything is energy and it can't be created or destroyed, and what you put your intention to and what you talk about comes about, what does everyone talk about? The weather. I said, and here we go. We're going to have these names so that it gives it more attention and gives it more energy.
It is funny you mentioned that, because when she told me what it was called, you know what the first thought was that I had? When did the weather go to war with us?
Right? It's been weaponized for a while.
Yeah, but you're right? It's like, and I just think it made me laugh, because I was like, okay, there's going to be big waves. There's going to be power outages. There's going to be, you watch the Weather Channel. It's hilarious. Like, the killer storm coming to the UK. It's like, yeah, it's called a winter storm. I remember years ago living here on the island and coming home I lived up here on the north part, not north, but I lived about an hour from where I was going to school, and I had to travel up this highway every day. And
So
we had some crazy, the Malahide, we had some crazy storms back then. I remember the branches flying off and we'd be like, woohoo, we made it home, We called it a storm.
It made me also question, okay, is there a name for this weather god that I don't know about? Is this some new god that's showing up? Because
Yeah,
where's
called Yahweh, the storm god.
right? So where's the narrative going to come for this one? You get what I'm saying? What's the narration they're wanting to create from this to have us help them create that?
Yeah.
No.
And that's
No more.
That's where we were talking about right at the beginning about, no more. Like, and so instead of being angry about it, we're actually laughing about it. Oh, nice try. We see you. And I think that's where we're coming into that, where this is going to continue this way. And instead of being indignant or angry or judgmental, it's this, the jig is up. Celebration.
The jig is up. And, if you ever look into like big plant medicine ceremonies and stuff like that, people go through the existential angst of, the dissolution of all their realities. And then there's always that point where they hit the light fantastic, and they usually just crack up. They're rolling around on the floor laughing because you realize that it's just such a big machination. And I mean, it's just such a celebration for the soul to be liberated from all that, right? So to me, this is when we find ourselves laughing, it's not a crass, like unconscious
release.
Yeah, it's a release.
It's letting go of, I don't need to hang on to any of this. I'm done. Yeah.
And
so imagine it's the funny of the imagination of the machination. It's all mashed, and it's like when you think about it, okay, they're starting to call this weather what seems to be war names, which means to me that's not very creative. If you're having to pull for something just to be able to get the reaction out of the collective to produce something because you have no creativity. You lack creativity. You need us to create that for you. Because we're the energy beings. We brought in the spark.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah. It's like interesting. I keep hearing 70-30, 70-30. And so it is, and I don't know about you. Tell me your thought on this, both of you, because I've been really feeling into this energy of the 77. Which is to me a perfection number. And the perfection is that it's always moving, like it doesn't stay. If you add 77 together, it's 14, which is a 5, which is creation, chaos, the pulse of manifestation and growth. And so I feel like there's something about that 77% where that's where the energy of creation comes from. And so there's no such thing as 100% of anything. Like we're never going to be 100%. There's always going to be these challenging, controlling forces. And, they might have pulled us down to like, 60-40 at some point. But it feels like we're definitely pulling our way back up to that 70 at least. And we don't have far to go, is what I'm hearing, to get to that sweet spot, which is like a tone that will just like clear energy in front of us. So what do you feel about that?
Well, 7 is Egypt. 7, I'm born August 7th, 1970. I am 77 in that aspect, right?
Oh, perfect. We knew it all along, Tanya, but now it's confirmed.
7 doors, 7 keys, 7, right? There's so much, 7 chakras. There's so much around the number 7. And so that's where I went right away was, it's always been my number. And so 77 would be, there you go. You're right on track, right? You're even in a way. Instead of the double ones, which is 11, it's No, it's 77 and you reverse them. And there's your pathway. Yeah.
Mhm.
I gotta go pee.
When we talk about 7, it depends on how many's there. So if we start with 2, you get the 14, which comes to a 5. Let's add another 7. What's the number we get then? We get 21.
1, 3.
3. So when if we got 21, we add another 7, that's what? 28. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we also can take 7 and we understand that there are 7 portions to the brain. There are 7 in the eye. And there are 7 in the heart, 7 chambers.
Mhm.
And it's like when we also understand that when we look at the Hebrew language and we understand how numerology equates to how when you take a 7, you turn it upside down. What is it? It's an L, but it's also an angle. Because when you look at the 7s there, it's kind of, it's not really, the 7s aren't straight. It's kind of curved and then it straights because that curve hits an arc and takes off. It goes into a different direction. But we also look at the the 7s and it becomes what? An L. So you can see that 7 plays such a significant role in our experience, depending on how we perceive it and what it means to us in any given moment.
Amazing. Amazing.
We can keep playing. And so it's interesting. So maybe even observe everyone if you choose that as this new moon, we hit 2 new moons in 1 month, which only happens every 2.5 years. It's an opportunity to use it as a litmus test. Read for yourself what transpires for you by doing some journaling around it, set some intentions, and then where are you at on this next full moon on the 30th? And you can, now I see a pattern. Because without watching, like witnessing ourselves, so to speak, we never get to see how far we've come. And so this is that opportunity. I think this month is quite profound for the inner journey. We come up to the solstice, right? And what would the cards say about that?
Yes, beautiful. I love that. The inner journey. And if you know, when I work with numerology in the tarot, when we have double numbers, when we have double numbers, it's mastery. They're master numbers. So double 7s would be the mastery of that inner spiritual journey, that quest to know thyself.
Yes.
So there's something about, as you said, two of these new moons this month. So checking in after this time, and if the new moon in Sag, okay, it's going to be a new moon in Capricorn for the next one. So new moon in Sag is about like realigning your compass with your innate spiritual convictions. So it's sort of like recommitting to your values, your spiritual values. And then the next one would be, how are you going to act on that? So this month would be the designing and reformulating your spiritual cosmology. And then the next new moon would be how do we take that in the world? Capricorn, how do we externalize it? So Sag would be the internal, like, warriorship. And when we go into new moon in Capricorn, it will be externalizing that somehow. So yeah, and then of course we've got this winter solstice right in the middle. I'll pull some cards on that.
21.
And we are going to be
7s.
We're going to be connecting in person in the middle of this too for the full moon.
Right? Oh yeah, we forgot about the full moon.
Just having this conversation just brings us back to what I was just expressing about the seven sections of the brain, the 7 of the eye, and then the 7 of the heart. So when we have the 7-7, that's the 2 of the hands and the feet, which is the 5, because the 7 and 7 is a 14, which gives you the 5, which meets to the center of the 7 of the chamber of the heart, which comes to the the eyes in the mind, which is where the senses bring to the heart the meaning to tell the mind how to perceive what we're experiencing through the five senses, even greater sevens.
We have more than five senses.
Yes.
Okay, so in the midpoint, so here's the judgment, it's the crossroads, the big awakening crossroads.
Yes.
And the midpoint, which is the winter solstice, one of the 4 quarters of the year, and there's that cross, you see it, the 4 quarters,
Yep.
awakening. So I get a strong feeling of a pineal gland awakening for
Oh, I
humanity.
can feel that. You didn't even have to say it. It's like they're showing
Look at this up at the right, the top, right there where the lightning strikes, and some kind of like the page of swords is the messenger of information. So some kind of, it feels very important what we do with our words and what we like send out into the world. So it's like we can, those of us that are awake can really activate the pineal of those people asleep by putting very clear intentions. So prayer, group prayer, like anything like that, where you're sending an awakening kind of frequency out into the collective, because it's going to be a very, very, very big moment of collective expansion if we choose to. And also, I really get the calcification of the pineal being broken down. So we can have a huge influence on that within our own inner state and also out in the collective. So get out all your magic tools, everybody, and get together with your, like-minded, conscious, evolving friends and activate, send out prayers, send out beautiful frequency, energy, and direct it to the pineal glands of all those people that are still calcified into frozen, right? Just, and send it in a gentle pulsing wave that isn't about blasting them, right? Like, again, it's if you think the last word here on the Sag new moon is, Sag is the archer, and the archer is about hitting the target right on, right? We don't want to destroy people's nervous system by blasting them to smithereens, but we want to hit that sweet spot where it just cracks the pineal calcification enough that their own wisdom does the job.
Activates. Yeah, absolutely.
And that will, it's a beautiful consciousness expansion possibility we're being invited to participate in. So beautiful. Yeah. And for some reason, I don't know why, all of a sudden I'm being shown tea, like TEA, tea. And they're going, there's something about a grand tea ceremony. And so different than cacao, I feel like I'm seeing tea, like some kind of special tea, sharing tea. I don't know why I'm seeing that, but it feels
parties.
A tea party.
You can also, as you know, read tea leaves as well. So interesting. Yeah.
That's why I'm seeing that. But anyway, something about like having a ceremony where we share tea and we meditate and put the energy into the tea, and then imagine that everyone that's drinking tea all around the world is getting that something. Anyway, that's that.
Oh, we're so grateful to have connected today. And I just wanted to add to the pineal opening conversation that those of you that maybe think you're not open yet, just trust. Don't chase. For that which you chase, you're telling your soul that we're not there yet, which keeps you on a bit of that loop. So just pause and trust. Because I can remember for years, I would only see my own eye, and I'm like, oh, this is really boring. I'm only seeing my own eye. And then it expands from there. And so depending on where your mind is at, how calm can you be? How loving can you be to yourself? And so just be surprised. Last night, I got to lie down for a few minutes at a sound bowl, and it was profound what was coming through. I knew which bowl she was playing by what I was seeing. And I'm like, cool, this is fun. So you know, and you'll start to see, you'll be shown things, and it's never more than you can handle. And it's never scary. It's always beautiful. So I just wanted to put that in there for those that are like, well, I don't want that. Yeah. Jean?
You know, I so enjoy when we have this time.
Yeah, we missed you.
And you know, and it's profound because what we're doing is we're still speaking to what is taking place and what is going on, whether it be that we're here and you're just still knowing that we are on the same level, you know, given what T and I are expressing, you know, in our lives, given what you're expressing in your lives, and coming here and just being that syncs lead to links. And knowing that, you know, working with Chastia and what she's bringing forth too, it all speaks about the same thing that's taking place, just in differing deliverances. And that's what I'm seeing so much of, because it's so beautiful and profound that it's almost like I look at what we're doing and I see as the four pillars, the four pillars of the information coming through in the deliverance of ways that will help each person that comes to watch this hear it from the way they're able to hear it.
The perspectives are beautiful and profound. We love sharing the wisdom with you. Because you know, it's just so, I have so much gratitude for the knowledge that being able to connect with those like-minded people. And as we expand, we're more open to seeing others. It gives possibilities to everyone.
Everybody. Yes.
What would you like to end with, Ashala, before we?
Oh my goodness. I guess that it's like coming home this month, coming home to your own inner, I want to say, design, your own inner language, and find your spirituality, find your unique version of what your spiritual path is, and celebrate that and recommit to it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
You are the gift. You are the present.
Yeah.
Open it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And remember, everyone, we do love you. We love you where you're at, no matter your perspective. And I'll see you on Wednesday at 4 p.m. PT. And I look forward to that. So much love, everybody.